Hello everyone, this is Lata Akula. In this video, we are going to study about the eukaryotic cell. Already in the last video, we have completed the prokaryotic cell. In that, we studied that the prokaryotic cells, they include all the bacteria and which consists of the cell wall, which is made up of the peptidoglycan, and they do not have any cell organelles, and proper nuclear membrane was absent in the nucleus. These are the some of the properties studied in the prokaryotic cell. Now we will see the what are included in the eukaryotic cell. So what are the living organisms included in this? Protists, plants, animals and fungi were included in this eukaryotic cell. And here inside the cell, within the cytoplasm, different cell organelles, they have been compartmentalized. That means they have been individually separated by a membrane. Hence there are membrane bound cell organelles were present in the eukaryotic cell. Not only that, they consist of an organized nucleus, that which consists of the nucleus is surrounded by envelope or nuclear membrane. That nucleus consists of the genetic material. So the genetic material was in the form of linear chromosomes, and all eukaryotic cells are not similar. So these eukaryotic cells, they differ, the structure of these eukaryotic cells may differ. The plant cells are differ from the animal cells with having some characteristics like the plant cells, they have the plastids, cell wall and big central vacuole was present, and which are absent in the animal cells. So all the plastids, big vacuole and cell wall were absent in the animal cells. The outer layer of the animal cell is not covered by cell wall like the plant cell, and there is no plastids present in the plants, and at the same time there is no big central vacuole in the animal cell like the plant cell. At the same time, animal cells, they consist of centrioles which are absent in the plant cells. Like that, in some characters, the plant cells and animal cells, they may vary. And now we'll see the different cell organelles present in the eukaryotic cells individually. In that, the first one is the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Here, the structure of this cell membrane or plasma membrane was first clearly studied after the invention of the electron microscope. In the year 1950, electron microscope was invented. After that invention, the proper structure of the eukaryotic plasma membrane has been studied, and in the meanwhile several chemical studies has been done. By that, they identified that first these chemical studies was carried out on the human RBC. So they studied that the cytoplasmic membrane or plasma membrane, which is made up of lipids and proteins. So what are the chemical substances present in the plasma membrane? By their studies, lipids and proteins were present in the plasma membrane, and the major lipids present in the plasma membrane were the phospholipids. Phospholipids were present, and these phospholipids were arranged in the form of a double layer, bilayer. This is one layer and this is another layer. Like that, the phospholipid bilayer was arranged. In that phospholipid bilayer, they consist of cholesterol also. If we see the phospholipid bilayer, that consists of hydrophilic head towards the outer side and hydrophobic non-polar tail towards the inner side. Hydrophobic head, which is a polar nature, that is present, that was facing towards the surface, and the hydrophobic non-polar tail, which is present inside the bilayer. And here, in addition to this phospholipid bilayer, it also consists of cholesterol. Here, this cholesterol, the function of this cholesterol was when the plasma membrane was facing the low temperature, very low temperatures in the time, this cholesterol that helps to prevent the plasma membrane from freezing. And in addition to this cholesterol will increases the fluidity nature of the plasma membrane. And here later, after several biochemical studies, cell membrane, they concluded that the cell membrane also consists of the proteins, carbohydrates also. Proteins and carbohydrates were also present in the plasma membrane. And here the proteins and carbohydrates were the ratio of these proteins and carbohydrates, they may vary from cell to cell. In differences, the ratio of these carbohydrates and sugars may vary. If you take the human beings, the erythrocytes, membranes of these erythrocytes, they consist of 52% of the proteins and 40% of the lipids. And depending on the ease of extraction of the proteins present, the proteins are of two types. One is the integral protein and another one is the peripheral protein. Here, these integral proteins are the proteins which are embedded partially or totally in the plasma membrane. The proteins which have been partially or totally embedded within the plasma membrane, they were called as integral proteins, and the proteins which are present on the surface of the membrane, they are called as peripheral proteins. Those are called as peripheral proteins. And here, these peripheral proteins, they can be easily extracted from the plasma membrane by applying some physical forces. But whereas these integral proteins and some other proteins are there, they are called as transmembrane proteins. Those transmembrane proteins, they may be present from the complete bilayer structure. Those proteins, they cannot be easily removed from the plasma membrane. For the removal of those proteins, we have to apply some crude methods. We have to distract the plasma membrane, then only we can remove those proteins. And then here, if you see this plasma membrane and the proteins, the total structure will appear like a protein icebergs floating on the sea of phospholipid bilayer. It will looks like this. Later, the improved model of this cell membrane was proposed after the invention of the electron microscope. The clear-cut plasma membrane structure was proposed by two scientists, Singer and Nicholson. According to these two, in the year 1972, Singer and Nicholson, they proposed fluid mosaic model. So what is the model proposed by the Singer and Nicholson? In the year 1972, they proposed fluid mosaic model. According to them, the quasi-fluid nature of these lipids that enables the lateral movement of these proteins within the bilayer, that lateral movement of that lateral movement of these proteins within the bilayer, that is called as its fluidity. Because of that fluidity only, these proteins can be freely moving in the phospholipid bilayer. So as we discussed, the plasma membrane exhibits the fluidity nature. That fluidity nature or the flexibility nature of the plasma membrane, that will be helpful to carry out various functions in the cell. That is for the cell growth, for the formation of intercellular junctions, for the secretion of the materials, for the dividing, cell division, and for the endocytosis. To carry out for all these functions, the cell membrane must be highly flexible. Because of that flexibility only, the cell growth and divisions will take place. For example, this is the cell. During the cell division, the cell membrane has to extend. For that extension, what is required? The flexibility of the membrane is required. For example, instead of flexibility, if the cell membrane was rigid, this process will not be performed properly. The cell division and the cell growth will not occur. So for that, to allow all those functions, the cell membrane is the fluidity nature or the flexibility nature of the cell membrane will decide all these functions. And another one is endocytosis. Cell growth, formation of intercellular spaces, secretion, and this endocytosis is new to you. That is, here endocytosis means the intake of materials by carrier vesicles, in the form of a carrier vesicles, by the invagination of the plasma membrane. That is called as endocytosis. What is endocytosis? The intake of, this is the plasma membrane, these are the materials, they may be taken inside by means of the vesicles. So these are the carrier vesicles, and these carrier vesicles are formed by the invagination of the plasma membrane around those particles, and later those vesicles which is formed around those particles will be pinched off and will be allowed into the cytoplasm. That process is called as endocytosis. And this endocytosis is of two types. One is a pinocytosis and phagocytosis. Here, if in case of the liquids, it is called as spinocytosis, and in the case of large-sized particles, the process is called as phagocytosis. Hence, the pinocytosis is also called as cell drinking. Drinking means that was allowing the liquids or fluids to come in. Hence, it is called as cell drinking. Whereas the phagocytosis, it was allowing the large-sized particles to come in. Hence, it is called as a cell-eating process. This is a cell drinking process, and whereas the phagocytosis is the cell eating process. And here in cell drinking process, high molecular weight particles such as proteins, amino acids, fats, insulin and lipoproteins, they will be entered by means of the pinocytosis. Here these all these high molecular weight particles they will be in the form of globules of the fluid. These globules of the fluid are called as pinosomes. So here these globules of the fluid are called as pinosomes, and the latter they will form the vesicle, right? After entering inside, what will form? The vesicle type of the cell is formed, right? Those in case of pinocytosis, these vesicles are called as pinocytic vesicles. What they are called? Pinocytic vesicles, and those are called as pinosomes. After pinching off into the plasma, into the cytoplasm, the vesicle is formed. That vesicle is called as pinocytic vesicle. This is in case of liquids, it is called as pinocytic vesicle. And whereas in phagocytosis, the process was same, but the particles was the material was different. Here, the large sized particles will enter into this, and this process is called as cell eating process. Here, this process takes place in protozoans, leukocytes of the blood, and reticular cells of the spleen. In all these cells, this phagocytosis process takes place. Here, what will happen? The large sized particle will reach us here. The vesicle is formed around it, and the vesicle will pinch off inside the cytoplasm. The vesicle is formed, right? That vesicle is called as food vacuole. We will see the food vacuoles in protozoans, right? Those food vacuoles are nothing but this by means of the phagocytosis only. So here, the food vacuole, they are called as food vacuoles or phagocytic vesicles. Here they are the pinocytic vesicles. They are called as here phagocytic vesicles. Here, like endocytosis, there is one more thing is present, which is called as exocytosis. Here, in this, if there is any waste materials or undigested food particles present in the cell that need to be eliminated from the cell by the process of exocytosis, it is a reverse of endocytosis. For this also, the cell membrane is required, and this process is called as cell vomiting or effagy. And these are some of the functions performed by the plasma membrane. In addition to these functions, the cell membrane will selectively allows some particles or solutes to enter selectively. That nature of the plasma membrane is known as selective permeability. And here in this the plasma membrane, some particles, some smaller particles like oxygen and gases, carbon dioxide, that will freely move in and out of the cell, whereas some other ions and other polar molecules, the non-polar molecules that can easily enter, because the polar molecules including water that pass through the membrane by means of membrane proteins. By means of those membrane proteins only, these polar molecules will enter. Here for the transport of these particles, some of the particles that require energy and some of them that doesn't require any energy. Depending upon that, we have two different types of transports. One is the passive transport and another one is the active transport. The passive transport, there is no need of energy for the particles to enter inside. This passive transport is again two types. One is the diffusion and another one is the osmosis. In the diffusion, simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion are there. In the diffusion, some of the neutral solute particles and several gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide that will enter into the membrane again along the concentration gradient from the low concentration to the from higher concentration to the lower concentration, that will enter easily without need of energy. That is called as simple diffusion. But Water molecule is there. Water molecules also enter into the cell by means of the diffusion, but the entry of this water molecules by means of the semi-permeable membrane, that is called as osmosis. And some particles like some polar molecules which have the large molecules, the polar larger molecules, that will enter into the cell by means of the carrier proteins. They have to enter into the cell by means of the carrier proteins. These carrier proteins, they change their shape according to the solute particles entering inside, and that type of transport is called as facilitated diffusion. And there is one more thing, that is active transport. Here in this passive transport there is no need of energy, but whereas to allow some molecules or ions to enter inside, that require energy, because those ions are molecules that will enter against the concentration gradient, that is from the low concentration to higher concentration they were moving. For that requires some energy. That energy is obtained from the ATP. And these ions and molecules, they enter into the cell by means of the transmembrane proteins. The transmembrane proteins which are present in the plasma membrane, they allow the ions and molecules to enter into the cell by using ATP. An example for this active transport is sodium and potassium pump, which is seen in the animal cell. And with this we have completed the cell membrane, and the next one is the cell wall. In the next video we are going to study about the cell wall. And if you like my video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel Lata Akula Biology Tutorial. Please keep watching.